My name is Konstantinos Dikaros. I am the head of the Economic and Commercial section in the Embassy of Greece in Bucharest, which means that I am not the foremost expert, of course, because these are issues and domains that preferably they need people that they have been working on those probably for years or decades, but I did my best in order to get some messages through, and then for the people to have some educated information about if they need to make some questions, requests, inquiries. So knowledge is always a good thing. So about key messages, the key message is that actually is the developments that really make us proud as Greece, as government, and of course as an embassy of Greece in Romania, because Greece and Romania are countries that are really feel pretty close together, and we are happy that we can present this to Romania, that how really by making a few, let's say, radical changes, the country can change all the image about itself in the international markets, in the international setting in general, and change all the climate actually very quickly, because everybody knows what Greece went through during the previous decade, and it was not pleasant at all, especially since unlike Romania, we didn't have our own currency, so we couldn't devalue, and this made things even more difficult. And then COVID came, and it was one upon the other. But we found out, and actually this is a paradigm that I really wanted to present to Romania, that you don't need to do many things. You need to do the correct things. It's not always easy, because the actual changes which are needed are structural. It's not an easy thing to increase the taxes or stuff like that. This usually doesn't work. So the points that really made the difference is how can you control tax evasion, especially VAT evasion, so that people pay their taxes. Another thing is the development, the know-how for development of public and private partnerships. And as a matter of fact, at this moment that we are speaking, Greece and Romania at the government level, they have very open channels, because Romania already is asking Greece for know-how transfers in tax evasion, and how to avoid tax evasion, and how to build public-private transferships in order to boost the public works with more capital in Romania. So, as I demonstrated, this had a very positive effect in Greece, because when foreign investors and foreign markets are looking in a country, they're not looking for a perfect environment. They don't care about perfect environment, and the perfect environment does not exist. They're looking for key factors, which are seriousness, stability, and predictability. If you can give foreign and domestic businesses actually, but talking about foreign investments, stability, predictability, and seriousness, already you start to create a virtuous circle about the country. You get upgrades, the macroeconomic data are getting better, everybody notices, and if you can convince that this is a sustainable tendency, investments tend to start pouring in. First of all, if it goes without saying that if it's a big company, they have their own internal mechanism of evaluating countries and business and investments environments. But for companies which are more like small and medium enterprises and also startups and scale-ups, of course the first step is always pretty easy to get in touch with an embassy. This is with our economic and commercial department. As a matter of fact, the first step probably is to study this presentation that everybody is going to get. And then depending, by reading that, if they have questions, they're going to be educated questions. There are not going to be educations based on nothing. They will know something, they will have a basic understanding of the situation, and then probably they can have requests or interest for business proposals based on that. Then the embassy, depending on what really we are dealing with, we are going to put them in touch with the correct entity and with the right people, and we can make some telephone calls, see who is the person in charge, so that we can forward them directly to these people and they don't have to look and get lost a little bit in a bureaucracy that always exists. And of course, as I demonstrated, there are entities that are one-stop shops for investments that are really in priority sectors in Greece, and they have steps from to the get-go, let's say, totally from zero until the investment is concluded in a very reasonable period of time. Listen, it goes without saying that it is, in our view, extremely positive. And first of all, it is important that these companies that were present here today, already they had gone through a screening and selection process. So when you are talking to them, you know that these companies, they are not no matter whom. Already they have been screened by Innovex, and by participating in just their participation in this MoonShotX 2.0 program, this means something. And I'm going to be completely honest with you, because I really tried to make the presentation have added value for companies, because I'm not talking to a generic. I was not talking to a generic company. I was talking to companies, and we all know that companies, in many cases, if they don't see any interest, they have a very short attention span and they lose interest in presentation. So I really tried to go to the key points that they have interest for them, and I was having attention, and really I think they were really interested in that. I mean, they were really paying attention, and very actively we are expecting that probably we are going to hear from some or several of them, because it gives the opportunity to them to hear what we have to say, and to us to get some messages through that these people don't necessarily know, and I suspect that they don't really know it, because in our case, Greece is not the United Kingdom or Austria or Japan. So speaking about the investment environment and ecosystems, we're not as established. So, but I think I was able to demonstrate that we are up and coming. And coming back to my original argument, I think having positive tendencies and sustainable ones is a great actually incentive for companies to consider. Especially, you know, if we are talking about Romania and Greece, because Romanian companies, they are feeling very comfortable with Greece. It's not the same for them. I don't mean to accuse anybody, but for Romanian, because companies are people, right? So it's one thing about opening a subsidiary company or a representation office in Greece or something like this, and another thing in Northern Europe or in Central Europe or something like this. People just feel more comfortable, and we all know how Romanians and Greeks are. We speak the same language, we communicate, we have our ways of communicating. We are not perfect people, but we can find common understanding, and we honestly like each other. Yes. And these things, you know, they are intangible probably, but they are very important too in the long run when you go to work and operate in another country. You know, at this moment, because everything is working more or less within the frame of the European Union, digitization and green transition in general, they are key, right? Because this is what is prioritized in the European Union. And also both of these are sustainable industries, and they also contribute to the target of the European Union of lowering and then totally killing the carbon imprint in the European Union, so the European Union can become carbon neutral by 2050. So these are actually, but the thing is that these sectors have a lot of subsectors depending on the industry, and there are a lot of opportunities actually, but generally speaking, what is innovation, novelty in connection with connectivity, with digitization and green transition? So they are general sectors, but speaking about that, I think this is where we are right now. And also, as I said, trying to focus on that, there is also this very novel possibility to create synergies by combining companies with strong innovation profile with golden investors in these companies, so that these investors can get golden visas for staying in Greece, not by buying real estate, because this is actually becoming pretty saturated also in Greece right now, but by supporting innovative companies so that they can get the golden visa, and also that they have the opportunities in probably in the medium term or something like this to create added wealth by when the company moves forward from startup to scale up and so on and so forth. So this is where we are standing right now. Of course, it is a work in progress, right? It's not, the ecosystem is not as established and as saturated, but the fact that it is not as established as in countries like probably the UK or something like this also means that there are more opportunities, because when you are getting in a market like that with an upward trajectory, but it's still building itself, this is when you want to get into it. After it is saturated, the incentives go down, they don't need you anymore. So in these cases, it's always better, I think, to get into these opportunities while the iron is still hot.